Natasha here with Big Rock Organics, week 12 of the CSA. The weeks are just flying right by here. We are excited about lots of tomatoes this week and lots of fun flavors. So let's just jump in and give you some great ideas. So we've got our Swiss chard is back in town. So we've got Swiss chard, which is always wonderful to do a nice little saute with. Especially add it to a pasta dish, which I'm going to give you a great recipe here for a nice easy pasta to make with the fresh tomatoes. So we've got that to add to your pasta dish this week. So all of these beautiful heirloom tomatoes, very, very, very excited about them. And you have a lot of tomatoes this week and all kinds of different varieties and colors and types. So everything that we've picked on the verge of ripening or ripe. So even if it's green or weird colors, don't worry, they're all good ripe tomatoes. So we've got lots of cool varieties. This one's called Brad's Atomic Grape. We've got the bumblebees. This is a purple bumblebee. We've got yellow pear. This is a sunrise bumblebee. And all kinds of different kinds of tomatoes. So we've got some bigs, we've got some littles, but just go ahead and you want to know if a tomato is ripe from the firmness of it, not necessarily the color. Some of these are never going to ripen to red because they're all kinds of beautiful colors all their own, but you know, you don't want to be waiting for it to turn red because it might be a different color. So a great recipe for tomatoes that I absolutely love. This one my friend Michelle told me about. So it is cooking a tomato sauce, very easy, a fresh tomato sauce with tomatoes. So what I like to do is I blanch the skins off. You're just gonna take some hot boiling water, put your tomatoes in that boiling water for, you know, maybe 30 seconds or whatever till the skin starts to crack, and then you can peel that skin right off. Then you're just gonna chop them up kind of big chunks and you're gonna put them into a pot with the pasta. So this is uncooked raw pasta, and you put it in with the tomato chunks, and you want to make sure there's a good amount of tomato chunks, like same ratio as the pasta. And then you're going to actually take and cook that over medium heat. I mash the tomatoes a little bit to get the juices going, but the pasta is going to cook in the tomato juice, and as it does that, the starch from the pasta helps to kind of create a tomato sauce. And so you're actually making a tomato sauce with the fresh tomatoes and boiling your pasta at the same time. Kind of brilliant if you think about it. And you just get this wonderfully flavorful sauce that really captures the fresh flavor of the tomatoes. It's so delicious. You can use the tomatoes with the skins on, except you'll get that little papery skin in there, but you know, that's just fine too. You can chop them right up and add them in there. So that is a great idea this week. I hope you'll try. And you can add so many of the fresh vegetables, saute it, and then add it into your pasta. We added artichoke hearts and olives and some zucchini and onions and chard. You can add all that into your pasta. So I hope that is a nice easy meal idea for you, and it's also a great way to use up some of the tomatoes that you might be overwhelmed by, or if they're really ripe or even overripe, it's a great thing to do with overripe tomatoes as well. So hopefully that will give you some ideas. I also love making a simple caprese salad, but you can switch out the olive oil for sesame oil and switch out the vinegar for rice wine vinegar, and that gives you a wonderful little like Asian twist on that caprese salad classic that we all love. So many things to do with the tomatoes. We're gonna have a few weeks of the tomatoes here. We will be probably next week opening up to purchasing, if you want to get some extra tomatoes, a tray of tomatoes, or even just an extra 5-pound bag of tomatoes. We'll open that up next week because we are really starting to hit the tomato season now. So enjoy your beauties. I think they're just so gorgeous, and I hope you enjoy each and every one of them. All right, so speaking of tomatoes, we've got a lot of fresh basil coming your way. So this stuff you're gonna wanna take and store in a jar on your counter. Now, if your basil's a little limp, sometimes it's really hard to get basil to kind of come out of the shock of being picked. So you want to take and put it in a jar of water and just put it on your counter and let it kind of recuperate. It might take like a day for it to recuperate, but that will keep it fresh and ready to go. So Yeah, definitely lots of good basil. Make some basil pesto this week and freeze it. If you freeze your pesto, you want to omit the cheese and then you can freeze the pesto. And we've actually been using frozen pesto this week making pizzas just for the ease of it. You can put it into ice cubes and then all you have to do is thaw a couple out whenever you want to toss some pesto into something, and it's great. So we did a big batch of pesto and a big batch of basil for you this week so you can enjoy that. All right, we've got our green beans. They are doing great, and I hope you've been enjoying those nice classic summery green beans. And we've got eggplant. You might have different colored eggplant, the Asian eggplant, or perhaps even we've got some of these fun new ones coming along. Eggplant is really delicious and is so neutral. You can put it into lots of dishes. So one of my favorite things to do, especially now that we've hit the tomato season, is to take and fry the eggplant and then put a smear of goat cheese on that while it's hot, and then a slice of heirloom tomato, and you make a stack. And the heat kind of melts everything and you just have this delicious, like Napoleon style, you know, fried eggplant with heirloom tomato and goat cheese. It's so flavorful. You can put a leaf of basil in between each stack as well, and it looks so pretty and it's so delicious, and it's just a great little, you know, appetizer sort of thing or side dish. But that is one of my favorite things to do. We've got lots of peppers today, so we have both hot and mild peppers. So let me go through. We've got, obviously you recognize these guys. These are turning all kinds of fun colors now, so you might get a little bit of color turning on them and a little sweetness. We've even got some of the red ones starting, which is very exciting. But we also have some hot peppers. Now, to make sure there's no confusion this week, we have put together a little tiny salsa kit for you. So we've got hot peppers in one bag. That way there's no confusion as to what's what. So you've got a little bag here, and we've got everything in that bag is gonna be a little bit more on the hot end. We've got poblanos. These are pretty mild. They make a delicious chili rellenos, of course, a very great classic. But I like to add them just like along with a bell pepper when I'm doing a saute or something. Adds a tiny bit of heat. These are gonna be pretty mild, but those are those poblano peppers, looking great. Then we've got the blockier ones here are a jalapeno, and anytime you want to take and remove some of the heat, you want to take and cut open the pepper and scoop out the seed and the white pithy part, and that eliminates a large portion of the heat. Now, do make sure when you're cutting these peppers that you either have some gloves on hand or that you like use an inverted bag to stick your hand into or something, because they can like make your hands hot and then anything else you touch pretty hot. So we've got those guys, and then we've got Serranos. These are the longer ones. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll take all the seeds out, and then I'll add these in the food processor and chop them up, and then you can put them in a little olive oil and put them into trays, and just make yourself some like tiny ice cubes of olive oil and hot pepper. And because the food processor processes it up so fine, you can just take and throw that cube in if you're sauteing something or making a soup or anything like that, and you just get a little bit of hot pepper. So that's a great way to use up the fresh peppers as well. Now also in this bag, you will notice some tomatillos. So we are growing these tomatillos. They're fun, they're delicious, they're traditionally used in salsa. You can chop them up and add them raw. They're just kind of starting, so we're just a few just as a fun sampler. So if you want to make salsa this week, you could make a little batch of fresh salsa, because we do have back in town cilantro. So we're giving you all the fixings to make great tacos or enchiladas this week. We have a new batch of cilantro that we're growing, and so you could create a delicious batch of salsa between those tomatoes, tomatillos, some of the fun peppers and stuff like that. Now also, something that we love with cilantro is Raita, which is a Indian cooling dip that you make to go with your curries or spicy things. Basically, it's yogurt along with some different spices and cucumber, cilantro, and coriander. So Coriander is actually the name of the seed of cilantro. And so our cilantro plants that have already gone to seed, we actually let them go to seed, and then we're collecting these fresh coriander pods. Now you can let these dry and then use them in different like Indian cooking and things like that. They have a really, really nice flavor. So these are kind of a combination, but you want to use the tiny little seed, and you want to dry it or use it fresh, crush it up with like a mortar and pestle. And it has this wonderful, like intense citrus flavor, but you do have to take and kind of crack those up a little bit with a mortar and pestle, and they smell really, really good. It's just this wonderful kind of spicy citrus flavor. And so that is our coriander. So I'm gonna have that recipe in there for you, but we have some fresh coriander, which is just the name for the seed pod off the cilantro plant. So one of the same. Hopefully you learned something new this week. All right. We've of course got lots of squash and zucchini. We had some great recommendations. Kathy sent us some things that she did with zucchini and squash, and that included some cookies. So I'm gonna be finding a recipe for you guys for some squash cookies. And yeah, these guys, patty pans, you know the works. Lots of these coming your way. Now, the patty pans, we grilled them this week and just did a little olive oil, salt and pepper, and grilled them. I like them to be not mushy, so I just take and grill them just so they get a bit of a char on it, but it's still gonna have a nice, you know, firmness to it. So always delicious. We've got potatoes. So we're gonna be seeing potatoes here for a while, which no complaints from me about that. Red Pontiacs and Yukon Gold. So this week we've got a few of each in there for you. Oven fries, they make great oven fries. Just scrub them really well, slice them into wedges, season them, and then the main key actually is after you slice them, you want to take and soak them in some cold water a couple times to take the starch out, and that really helps them to be fluffy and delicious and crispy. Then you towel them off, and then you olive oil, season them, etc. And like 400 degrees or so, 375 until they're nice and crispy. Stir them up a little bit. That is so delicious with some roasted garlic aioli. And that is what we had alongside dinner the other night. So great things with potatoes. I don't even know that I need to tell you anything to do with a potato because, you know, potatoes are such a great staple. All right, let's see what we have. We have those banana peppers back again. Remember, these guys are sweet, not hot. So we've got some banana peppers in there for you. And we also have the last of the giant kohlrabi. So even though they might look a little icky on the outside, remember it's the inside that counts. So you're gonna cut the bottom about like here or so, you know, cut all that root off, cut the top, and then use a knife and really, you know, peel off all the hard outer skin. And then you're left with just that crunchety, wonderful kohlrabi that you can grate or you can cut into sticks and use, but lots of fun stuff there to do with kohlrabi. We have some fresh things that we're planting for fall right now, and that nice young kohlrabi is one of them. We're putting in some more pak choy, we're putting in more kale, and lots of things right now, trying to finish up the last of the planting, so things will be ready here in a couple of weeks. So I think that is everything looking over the box. I don't know that I forgot anything, but we are just enjoying this bounty so much, and thank you for coming on this journey with us. So we have a few more weeks. If the season is good, sometimes we offer the chance to extend and, you know, purchase a couple more weeks worth of boxes. So we'll have to see how that goes, and that really depends on an early frost or not. So we'll see how that goes. But enjoy everything in your box, especially these tomatoes. We've been waiting all year for those, and we're so excited. So enjoy. Thanks for joining me, and happy cooking. Bye.